The night before the engagement, my fiancée received a phone call and then disappeared. Late that night, her childhood friend Ryan Taylor posted on Weibo, "Over all these years, only you would stay up late to watch the stars with me." The next day, I stood on stage in a suit with a cold expression, waiting for her to walk in and say, "I'm here." But things didn't go as planned. I raised my glass, offering tea instead of wine to my friends and family, and said, "Today, everyone eat and drink well, as Amelia Cross and I are officially ending our engagement." With that, I drank the tea in one gulp, turned, and left the engagement party. I drove to the beach, a place we often went to, staring out at the endless ocean. My mind was full of thoughts. I had blocked all her contact information, but she went mad trying to reach me. The day after the engagement party, Amelia Cross came home, reeking of alcohol, and slumped on the sofa, saying, "Why hasn't Emily Johnson made dinner today?" It was as if nothing had happened. I watched her frown and look upset, but I felt nothing. I replied indifferently, "Emily Johnson is packing your things." Amelia Cross stormed upstairs in anger, shouting, "How dare she touch my stuff?" Emily Johnson had been with me since childhood. She was like family, but Amelia Cross always held hostility toward her. Amelia grabbed the clothes Emily was holding and threw them to the ground, yelling, "Who told you to pack for me?" I smirked and said, "Aren't you moving out today? It's awkward for you to stay in your ex's house, isn't it?" Amelia Cross looked at me in shock, asking, "What ex were engaged? What are you talking about?" I raised my right hand and asked, "Do you see the engagement ring?" She had missed the engagement ceremony for her childhood friend, and now she could still say such things. It was laughable. Amelia Cross rushed into the study, opened a drawer, and panic showed in her eyes. She looked at me and asked, "Where's the ring?" Our engagement and wedding rings had been kept in that drawer, but now that we weren't getting married, I wasn't giving it to her. I replied casually, "It's lost." Amelia Cross was completely panicked. She grabbed my sleeve and demanded, "Michael Evans, what the hell are you doing? Get the ring. We're supposed to get the certificate tomorrow." She was into metaphysics and had asked someone to calculate that tomorrow was a lucky day. I shook off her hand and said, "You didn't even show up for the engagement ceremony, and now you still plan to get married." Amelia Cross was enraged and grabbed my wrist again, asking, "What do you mean you don't want to go through with it anymore?" I shook her off once more, clenched my fist, and stared at her, asking, "How can I continue with you? What about yesterday? Where were you when you missed the engagement ceremony?" Even though I had already made up my mind, I still hoped she would tell me the truth herself, but she said, Ryan Taylor's mom had acute appendicitis, and there was no one to take care of her. If I couldn't leave, I looked at her with no change in expression, and a smile of disbelief crept across my face. She was lying so easily now. Amelia Cross, seeing that I didn't respond angrily, asked, "Why are you silent? Have you lost your tongue?" Once upon a time, Amelia's face captivated me. Every smile and frown would stir my heart. Now, as I looked at her angry expression, my heart didn't flutter even once. I coldly responded, "You can sort out the rest of your things. Please leave today." Amelia Cross threw herself down on the couch and pouted, saying, "I'm not leaving. I want to stay with you." I had seen shameless people before, but never someone who would cheat and then act like this. I said bluntly, "I'm making room for you and Ryan Taylor. Stop bothering me. Wouldn't it be better if we let each other go?" But Amelia Cross was always like this. Nothing ever went her way. She always demanded that everything be about her. She had a cleanliness obsession, so I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom in our master bedroom. She was sensitive to smells and insisted I always smell of body wash or perfume. Even the slightest trace of sweat after exercise was intolerable to her. To make her happy, I lived cautiously, walking on eggshells. But today, I finally let go. I realized we were never meant to be together. I loved her with all my heart, but I was never her priority. A year ago, when I had acute gastroenteritis, throwing up and barely able to walk, Amelia helped me into the car. But as soon as she took a call from Ryan Taylor, she told me to get out and said, "You take a taxi to the hospital. I have something else to do." I watched her drive away in the distance. My eyes read 6 months ago when my dad had heart problems, and she promised to go to the hospital with me. She left halfway because Ryan Taylor said he had a cold. 3 months ago, at an important banquet, Amelia picked out my dress and accessories but ditched me because Ryan Taylor had a cough and needed medicine. I ended up changing partners to hours before the event. She didn't know, but I had been following Ryan Taylor's secret web account. On the days she said she was working late, I always found her traces in his posts. I couldn't take it anymore, so I had 2 bodyguards take her away. No matter how much she yelled at the door, I pretended not to hear. A woman with such a wolfish heart and a dog's loyalty wasn't worth my effort in the end. Emily Johnson packed all her things and threw her out. Amelia Cross wasn't pleased and kept shouting, "Why aren't you giving me the bags and jewelry you bought for me?" I said coldly through the door, "You don't deserve them." She didn't deserve the limited edition bags I painstakingly found for her, nor did she deserve the extravagant jewelry I bought just for her. Amelia Cross didn't take her. Things. An hour later, I received a call from Amelia Cross's younger brother, Michael Evans. Brother-in-law, Mom and Dad want you to come home for dinner. I really liked Michael Evans. I treated him like my own brother. The year I met Amelia Cross, her brother had lost a leg, helping me fend off danger. Since then, I always felt like I hadn't done enough for him. Michael Evans always rejected my gifts, saying, "I volunteered to push you away back then." Honestly, I would have helped anyone in that situation. He was kind and brave. He never felt inferior or wallowed in self-pity. Because of his limp, he still followed his own path and got into a great university. At yesterday's engagement party, Michael Evans hadn't attended because he was in a school speech contest. Now, hearing his familiar, easygoing tone on the phone, it seemed like he didn't know about the situation between Amelia Cross and me. I agreed to come, assuring him that whatever happened between Amelia Cross and me wouldn't affect my relationship with him. He would always be my savior. My parents had also told me to take good care of Michael Evans for the rest of his life. I couldn't break my promise to him. When I arrived at Amelia Cross's house, Michael Evans, as usual, gave me a gift. I always told him not to bother preparing anything since rushing with luggage was tiring, but he insisted, saying it was his token of appreciation and that I shouldn't refuse. I looked around, but didn't see Amelia Cross. Curious, I asked, "Michael Evans, where's your sister?" Michael Evans chuckled. "I don't know. Can't get her on the phone." It turned out I wasn't the only one unable to reach Amelia Cross. She always mysteriously disappeared, and whenever that happened, Ryan Taylor's Weibo would usually post something. Funny enough, no update had been posted today. Amelia Cross's parents warmly invited me to sit and eat. The large table was filled with all my favorite dishes. They were always so kind to me and had liked me since the first time they saw me. They often chatted with me on WeChat, reminding me to take care of myself no matter how busy I was, sometimes even sending homemade soup to my office through their secretary. They were considerate and never once said anything unpleasant about how Michael Evans had saved me and lost his leg in the process. At yesterday's engagement party, they were present but had stayed silent the entire time. I could roughly guess their intentions. After sitting down, I raised my drink and gave them a bow. Michael Evans, puzzled, asked, "Brother, what's going on today?" Amelia Cross's parents understood my intentions without waiting for me to speak. Before I could say anything, they explained to him the whole story behind Amelia Cross's absence from yesterday's engagement party. He angrily slammed his chopsticks and said, "This is outrageous. How could she miss such an important day? Where does that leave your face, brother-in-law?" I picked up his chopsticks and smiled. "From now on, just call me brother." Amelia and I are over. Amelia Cross's parents were moved and asked, "Really, is there no chance anymore?" Michael Evans, "Maybe we should talk to Amelia again. Please reconsider." I sighed and shook my head, saying, "It's not possible anymore. I've already had a talk with her today." They hurriedly asked, "You saw her today. Where is she? Did she take her things?" I shook my head, replying, "I don't know. She didn't take anything. Maybe she went to Ryan Taylor's place." Michael Evans stood up in anger. "She really has no sense of boundaries. She's about to get married, and she's still tangled up with Ryan Taylor." Amelia Cross's parents looked at me and said, "Well then, let it be. We won't force it." The meal was pleasant, and later, we chatted about life and future plans. Everyone tacitly avoided mentioning Amelia Cross. After dinner, I was about to say goodbye and leave when Amelia Cross's call came in. Her parents asked me to wait a moment. On the other end, Amelia Cross sounded anxious and said, "Mom, can you make me a pot of soft-shelled turtle soup? Ryan Taylor has a bit of a cold." Amelia Cross's mother frowned and replied, "At this hour, where can we buy soft-shelled turtle? You should go home first. We need to talk to you." But Amelia Cross snapped back, "Why do you still have such a big problem with Ryan Taylor? Every time I talk about being with him, you always tell me to hurry home. This time, I'm not going back. There's no one to take care of him here. If he dies, I'll feel guilty." After the call ended, I smiled and said my goodbyes. As I walked under the streetlight, I kept replaying Amelia Cross's words in my head. It turned out that even Ryan Taylor's minor cold could stir Amelia Cross's emotions so deeply. When I had a 40 degrees Celsius fever years ago and tried to contact her, all I got was her saying, "If you have a fever, just go to the hospital. Don't die. I've got things to do. I'm hanging up now." It turns out she wasn't ignorant of the need to take care of someone when they're sick, but I was never deserving of her care. I sent Amelia Cross another message. "Pick up your things, as soon as possible. There's a heavy storm in Jiangqing tonight." Once again, my message sank without a trace. Half an hour later, she called asking me to buy 2 soft-shelled turtles and deliver them to her. She used that same tone, one that left no room for refusal. Since we've been together, she's always been like this. Whatever she wanted, she didn't care how I got it, as long as the result was there. If I failed to get her the items she desired, she would get angry. The simplest response would be to block me from all her contacts. Then I'd have to find friends' phones to beg her for forgiveness, send her various gifts, and after about a week, she would finally reply saying, "I'm satisfied with your attitude of admitting fault. This time, I'll add you back for now, but next time, do better." Often, I felt like I was nothing more than her ATM. Everything between us was transactional. If she couldn't win a lawsuit, she would have me use my company's legal team to help her. Sometimes she didn't even say thank you. Everything was taken for granted. After I refused her request, she coldly said, "This small thing is actually too much for you now." It wasn't that I couldn't do it. I simply didn't want to be at her beck and call anymore. I asked her again, "When are you coming to pick up your things?" She didn't respond and simply hung up the phone. Less than an hour later, the topic exploded on Weibo when my secretary contacted me. I was surprised. Amelia Cross had announced the cancellation of our engagement. She claimed that I had cheated on her and abused her. To prove her accusations, she posted a few medical images showing external injuries. One of the photos, showing a wound on her neck I had once asked her about, she had stammered, saying it was from a fall while on a business trip. But now it seemed like it wasn't so simple. I immediately contacted the company's legal team to handle this matter. Meanwhile, Michael Evans, her brother, posted a statement on Weibo in my defense. "I'm Amelia Cross's real brother, and I can testify that Michael Evans absolutely did not abuse her. Everything my sister said is a lie." The comments on his post were about to flood his feed. "What real brother? I bet it's Evans, GM's hired PR team. Yeah, who doesn't support their own family? Did her brother take money from Evans' GM? Why is he turning against his sister?" I reached out to Michael Evans, asking him to delete the post and let me handle everything, but Michael Evans refused. "I won't let Amelia Cross hurt you." Half an hour later, Amelia Cross called again. "Michael Evans, if you want to call off the engagement, you have to give me half of your assets or the online rumors won't stop." The lion had been silent too long, but now it was becoming a cat. Amelia Cross thought she had me cornered, but she was wrong. I coldly replied, "Don't even dream about it. Not a penny of my money will be yours." Amelia Cross angrily said, "Michael Evans, do what you want, but don't regret it." I simply responded with, "Do as you wish." After the call ended, my eyes were filled with hatred. "Amelia Cross, you started this war. You'll have to bear the consequences." Amelia Cross was always like this. The next day, she stormed into the company's meeting room with a group of reporters. I was in the middle of an important acquisition meeting, but Amelia Cross didn't care. She told the guests, "Please leave immediately. I need to speak with General Manager Evans. I don't want to hurt any innocent people." I suppressed my anger and didn't react. Amelia Cross saw my clenched fists and asked, "What? Are you planning to hit me in front of the reporters?" Furious, I snapped, "What the hell is this? Can't you see I'm in a meeting?" Amelia Cross plopped herself down on a chair and casually said, "I saw that. So what? You're determined to cancel the engagement. We have nothing to do with each other. Why should I care about your feelings?" The flashes from the cameras were blinding. The reporters saw the tension between us and eagerly raised their microphones, each asking questions. "General Manager Evans, is it true that you called off the engagement because ... Because of infidelity? Ms. Cross claims you suddenly canceled the engagement without explaining the reasons. Is that true? General Manager Evans, what do you have to say about the abuse accusations? Can you elaborate?" General Manager Evans, the questions kept coming, giving me a headache. I shouted, "Enough." The reporters were immediately silenced by my outburst. Amelia Cross pointed at me and said, "Look at this, he's always so angry. I can't say anything, because he's really terrifying when he's mad." I couldn't help but laugh at her dramatic performance. I had been with Amelia Cross for 5 years, and the only time I had raised my voice was when she abandoned my father and walked away. I had never shouted before, but now she was storming into my company with reporters accusing me of being angry and saying she was afraid of me. This was the funniest thing I had heard all year. When the reporters saw me laughing, they hurriedly asked, "General Manager Evans, why are you smiling so happily?" "Happy? Which one of you saw me smiling?" The company's legal team had told me not to answer any questions before they arrived, regardless of the situation. I immediately called them. Amelia Cross sneered, "When did General Manager Evans become mute? Now you're acting like a turtle hiding its head." Thankfully, I remained calm and was not affected by her provocation. The legal team brought in a file folder. I held it up and asked Amelia Cross, "Let me ask you one more time. Is it really because I cheated and wanted to break off the engagement?" To my surprise, Amelia Cross responded calmly, "Yes, I'm sure you abandoned me for another woman." I smiled and looked at the reporters. "Now please make sure to record this process properly." A hint of panic flashed in Amelia Cross's eyes as I dumped the evidence onto the table. Amelia Cross completely lost her composure. She nervously asked, How? How did you know? The table was covered with photos of her hugging, kissing, and even entering hotels with Ryan Taylor. From her expression, it was clear she thought she had hidden it well. Little did she know, my head had been glowing green for a long time. The flashes from the cameras kept going non-stop as the reporters took photos. Even though Amelia Cross desperately tried to cover the evidence, she was outnumbered. I took the opportunity to ask, Why didn't you bring your childhood sweetheart to protect you today? What if you faint from anger? Amelia Cross replied harshly, He's sick, so he couldn't come. I can handle this alone. But her embarrassed look didn't suggest she could handle it. Really? I sneered. I hope you can still act so tough later. I turned to the reporters. Next time you encounter something like this, it's better to investigate thoroughly before coming to support the person involved. This is really lacking in professionalism. Then I presented even more evidence, including chat records, phone call recordings, and so on. Amelia Cross's face turned even paler, and she started trembling, unable to speak a word. At that moment, a commotion at the door caught everyone's attention. Ryan Taylor had appeared. He pushed through the crowd and stood next to Amelia Cross. Trying to shield her, Amelia Cross panicked and asked, Why are you here? Didn't you say you were still sick? Ryan Taylor dramatically said, Of course, I heard you were wronged, so I came to protect you. Ryan Taylor's words made Amelia Cross's eyes widen. Apparently, the words of the man she liked really struck a chord with her. The reporters immediately raised their microphones and asked, Are you two really together? Hiding it from General Manager Evans for all these years. What are your plans now? Amelia Cross hid behind Ryan Taylor, clutching his sleeve tightly and remaining silent. I scoffed. Wasn't it someone just now who mocked me for being a turtle? Now look at you, hiding behind him. Amelia Cross still didn't speak. I turned my attention to Ryan Taylor, glaring at him with anger in my eyes, and asked, How dare you barge into my company? Ryan Taylor lowered his head, not daring to meet my gaze. The atmosphere in the room grew tense, with the reporters snapping photos, capturing this historic moment. Seeing me bully Ryan Taylor, Amelia Cross immediately stepped forward and said, Michael Evans, don't drag others into this. I won't allow you to be rude to him. I smirked. Why can't I? Who are you to me? This is my company. You barged in without permission. I can call the police. Ryan Taylor grabbed Amelia Cross and pulled her behind him, saying, Let's go. Amelia Cross nodded and agreed. I turned to the reporters and said, Make sure to release this evidence as soon as possible. The reporters eagerly nodded, knowing that such a story was too good to miss. I couldn't help but laugh as I watched Amelia Cross leave, shooting me that disgusted look. She probably didn't realize that Ryan Taylor's appearance here was all arranged by me. She also didn't know that Ryan Taylor had come to see me earlier that day. He had made an offer. Ryan Taylor came to me and asked for $5 million, saying that he could return Amelia Cross to me. He thought he had me figured out, believing I liked Amelia Cross enough that I'd pay for her. He thought that he could take advantage of me through her, but he was wrong. I'm not the kind of person who can't let go of things. When I refused, Ryan Taylor lowered the price to $3 million. As long as General Manager Evans gives me $3 million, I'll leave Jiang Qing and sever all ties. With Amelia Cross, I straightened my sleeve and asked, What makes you think I'd give you that money? Ryan Taylor firmly answered, Because you love her. Hearing that, I laughed loudly. You're mistaken. She's not worth that much. Before leaving, Ryan Taylor pleaded, So how much can you give me? I raised my gaze and asked, Does Amelia Cross know you're using her for this transaction? Ryan Taylor chuckled and replied, Does it matter? She's just my little pet. After Ryan Taylor left, I sat holding the recorder, lost in thought. I was eagerly anticipating the day when Amelia Cross would hear that recording. I wanted to see her collapse. Since being with Amelia Cross, she had not only been a lawyer at a law firm but also the owner of 3 beauty salons. Those 3 salons were businesses I had set up for her. Now that we were no longer together, it was time to take back control of them. Amelia Cross came knocking again. She asked angrily, On what grounds are you taking back my beauty salons? I smiled and replied, Why can't I? I paid for them. Amelia Cross snapped, You're such a petty man, always thinking of taking back everything you gave me. Seeing how unreasonable she was, I had no choice but to have the legal team send over the contract we signed at the time. It clearly stated that if we ended our relationship, I could take everything back immediately. Amelia Cross looked at the contract in disbelief and asked, When did this clause get added? I had no idea. The day we signed the agreement, she was in a rush to take her childhood friend to the emergency room, so she didn't pay much attention. She just signed wherever the notary told her to. I asked, Don't you recognize your own handwriting? Amelia Cross, in a fit of rage, tore up the agreement and threw the pieces in my face, shouting, You're shameless. I sneered twice and walked away, not turning back, no matter how loudly she screamed. Shameless. This is just the beginning. The reporters quickly picked up the story about Amelia Cross and Ryan Taylor. Amelia Cross was somewhat of a well-known Weibo influencer. She liked to post vlogs documenting her life and daily outfits. All the designer brands she wore were gifts from me or charges made on my cards. She spent my money, enjoyed the adoration of others, but behind my back, she was cheating on me. Every time I thought about it, the pain was unbearable. Not long after Amelia Cross left, Emily Johnson told me she went back to get her clothes. I sneered, knowing that with the way she acted, she certainly wouldn't leave behind her expensive wardrobe. After all, it would be hard for her to spend lavishly in the future. Amelia Cross's Weibo exploded within an hour, with over 9,999 comments. She contacted me, asking me to let her off the hook. She said, "I've worked so hard to build up my account. I don't want to shut it down. Can you get the media to release a statement saying that nothing happened between me and Ryan Taylor?" I coldly replied, "Do you really think I'd help you? Do you believe that saying this will convince yourself?" Amelia Cross remained as naive as ever. When I refused, she angrily hung up. I knew why she went back for her clothes. Because tomorrow was the celebration at her law firm. But the clothes she was taking weren't luxury items. I wasn't going to give her the opportunity. I had Emily Johnson donate all her valuable clothes rather than giving them to someone like her. I decided to do a good deed and give them away. Sure enough, less than an hour later, Amelia Cross Street. I started frantically. Calling me at the time, I was drinking with some brothers watching a game. One of my brothers slapped my shoulder and said, "I never thought you'd come to your senses one day. We've been saying for a long time that Amelia Cross isn't the right match for you." It was true. When I insisted on being with Amelia Cross back, then, they all advised me against it. They were right. Amelia Cross only agreed to be with me for my money. At the time, I was blinded by love, believing that Amelia Cross was kind and reliable. She was different from those materialistic women. On our first day together, Amelia Cross asked me to open a family card for her. She set the limit at $200,000 a month. That evening, my brother Chris Anderson urged me to cancel the card. He said that if I didn't listen to him, I would regret it later. I patted my chest and replied, "No, I trust Amelia Cross's character." But now all I feel is a sharp sting of embarrassment. Amelia Cross had no character to speak of. She was just after my family. She got into that law firm with the help of my parents. Given her diligence in college, she could only have landed a small company job. It's not like she had the credentials to join the top law firm in Jiang. I found out that Ryan Taylor's job was also arranged by Amelia Cross using my name. Everyone knew she was my girlfriend, so many people gave her face. Now I had posted on the company's official website announcing the cancellation of our engagement. Along with the news of Amelia Cross and Ryan Taylor, I imagined Ryan Taylor's life wouldn't be easy from now on. As I stared at the missed calls on my phone, I fell into thought. One of my brothers patted my shoulder again and asked, "Why not just block her?" I took a sip of my drink and slowly replied, "Because I want her to experience what it feels like when someone keeps calling and you don't pick up." Amelia Cross always ignored my calls. Even when I was seriously ill and wanted her comfort. Whenever she found out I was sick, her first response was always, "Are you out of your mind? You know I won't pick up, but you keep calling." I'm busy when I don't pick up. Only when she heard my tone of displeasure would she ask, "How's your health now?" Once she knew I was getting better, she would hang up immediately. There was a time when I couldn't stop coughing and asked her to bring me some cough medicine. When she came back, she thought it was troublesome. When she got home, her hands were empty, and she said, "Can't you have Emily Johnson go buy it? I don't want to stop halfway, it's too much of a hassle." Ha! I just wanted her to show me a little more care. Couldn't I just order takeout for myself? That night, however, she got angry. First hugged a pillow and blanket, and went to the guest room. She left me with a parting line. "I have to wake up early tomorrow. You're coughing so badly, I definitely can't sleep." That night, as I watched her cold back, I had the first thought of breaking up. But the next day, she came back. Only bringing me medicine but also buying my favorite roast duck. She apologized, saying she hadn't been considerate of my feelings. The night before, she convinced me with just a few words, and I dropped the idea I had entertained. One of my brothers patted me on the shoulder and laughed. "So that's how it is. Finally, we're seeing you fight back." I smiled and replied, "Yeah, one can't keep being foolish forever." The brothers paused for a moment before raising their glasses and proposing, "Let's drink tonight and not stop until we're all drunk." I nodded and shouted, "All right, not drunk, not going home." That night, after a few rounds of drinks, Michael Evans called me. He said that Amelia Cross had thrown a tantrum at home, cursing me out thoroughly. He was worried I might be heartbroken, so he called to warn me to prepare for the storm that was about to come. I was grateful for Michael Evans. He didn't let his relationship with Amelia Cross cloud his judgment. I reassured him not to worry, as I was already used to Amelia Cross's unreasonable tantrums. However, this phone call made me realize that Amelia Cross might take more drastic measures against me. The next day, I arrived early at the office, ready to face any challenges. Sure enough, Amelia Cross called a senior management meeting, trying to slander me in front of everyone. But I was well prepared, with enough evidence and a clear line of reasoning. I successfully rebutted her accusations one by one. In the end, the others in the meeting all expressed support for me, and Amelia Cross's plan failed. This victory only strengthened my resolve. I decided not to let Amelia Cross's malice affect my work or life. I increased security at the company and added Amelia Cross to the blacklist. That day, she went to the private clothing store I often took her to. After picking a dress, she was ready to charge it to my name again, but she was refused. She was furious and started scolding the staff, but the staff responded, "Miss Cross, who in Junction doesn't know about your relationship with General Manager Evans?" Amelia Cross had no other choice. The evening banquet was very important to her, so she had to call my secretary, asking that for old time's sake, I wouldn't refuse to pick up the tab for her. But when the secretary handed me the phone, I coldly said, "I'm not willing. From now on, you will pay for anything you buy yourself. If you can't afford it, don't force it." Amelia Cross didn't know. But not having a dress for the banquet that evening wasn't nearly as embarrassing as she thought. I attended the banquet that evening as well, and I brought a date, my childhood friend, Emma Lewis. She is the only daughter of the Lewis Group, and we've been neighbors since we were kids. When I contacted her and asked her to help, she agreed. Right away, Emma Lewis and Amelia Cross were college classmates. Back in college, Amelia Cross used to bully her, but Emma Lewis was generous and didn't hold a grudge. However, Amelia Cross's jealousy distorted her completely. She posted rumors about Emma Lewis on forums with the help of her friends. Emma Lewis once came to me and asked me to manage my girlfriend, or else it would cause her trouble. I had advised Amelia Cross not to make an enemy of Emma Lewis. Emma Lewis is not someone you can mess with, but Amelia Cross said, "I want to mess with her. She always competes with me for the student council president position." In the end, Emma Lewis withdrew from the student council president race, using the fact that I owed her a favor as leverage. Amelia Cross thought she had one, but in reality, she hadn't. Later, she started criticizing Emma Lewis's wardrobe. She spread rumors that Emma Lewis could only afford designer clothes because she was seeing a rich man. Once at the mall, Amelia Cross even told a store employee that Emma Lewis was a mistress. At that time, Emma Lewis didn't give Amelia Cross any face and directly pulled out a black card. Amelia Cross was embarrassed and begged me for a black card too. I refused, and because of this, Amelia Cross blocked me for a long time, only unblocking me when she ran out of money. When Amelia Cross saw me at the banquet hall, her eyes were filled with panic, but when she saw Emma Lewis holding my arm, she loudly asked, "General Manager Evans, it took you this long to find a new girlfriend?" Emma Lewis beat me to it and answered, "Michael Evans's personal matters are none of your concern." Amelia Cross, already disliking Emma Lewis, responded, "So now, I'm an outsider. We almost got married, you know?" Emma Lewis snorted and said, "You just said almost. Now you two have no relationship at all, so please don't be an eyesore here." When Amelia Cross saw that I remained silent, she asked, "Michael Evans, have you become mute? Why aren't you speaking? Didn't you say you wouldn't let anyone bully me?" When I proposed, I did promise, "As long as I'm here, I, Michael Evans, will never let anyone bully you." That sentence was passed around among my friends and laughed about for a long time. I took a sip of my drink and responded, "Now you're the outsider here. Emma Lewis is the one I brought, so please don't make things complicated." At that moment, Amelia Cross's boss took the stage to give a speech, and the entire hall went quiet. Amelia Cross glared at me, her anger rising but unable to say a word. Looking at her outfit tonight, I couldn't help but think that she wasn't all that impressive. After the boss finished speaking, he announced a major decision. Starting today, Amelia Cross had been fired from the law firm. Amelia Cross, furious, asked, "What did I do wrong? You fire me without any reason and in front of so many people." Emma Lewis calmly walked up to the stage and said, "Because this law firm belongs to me." Amelia Cross looked at her in disbelief and asked, "How is that possible?" She turned to look at the boss in front of her, and it dawned on her. It wasn't that the time hadn't come yet. Emma Lewis was indeed not someone Amelia Cross could afford to mess with. To provoke after that, Amelia Cross quieted down for a while. Meanwhile, I was busy preparing for the proposal. Since we were young, Emma Lewis and I had always been joked about by our elders as Gentian's most perfect couple. At my high school graduation party, Emma Lewis confessed to me in front of all the guests, presenting me with 20 gifts. For all these years, she had hidden her feelings, but after my engagement party, she stayed behind to wait for me. She handed me all her assets and said, "If you sign, everything I have will be yours." Of course, I wasn't going to marry her for the benefits. I promised her I would need a week to think it over. I told my parents about it when I got home, and my mother was so excited. She had always liked Emma Lewis, and that day she confessed. to me that Emma Lewis had always been her ideal daughter-in-law, but since I loved Amelia Cross, they didn't want to interfere with my choices and had kept it to themselves. I thought it over and realized that Emma Lewis was indeed a good match. With her support, my company would surely do even better. The decision to fire Amelia Cross was something Emma Lewis had discussed with me beforehand. She asked if I would mind. I calmly shook my head and replied, "Of course, I wouldn't mind. If you hadn't given me face back then, she never would have gotten into your law firm." Amelia Cross lost control and started smashing wine bottles. In the end, she collapsed onto the floor and pointed at Emma Lewis, asking, "What did I do wrong?" Emma Lewis responded coldly, "You've been reckless. Michael Evans treated you so well, but you were behind his back with other men. You've made his life miserable these past few days. Firing you is already too lenient." Amelia Cross rushed up to the stage with a wine bottle, trying to pour it over Emma Lewis. I shoved Amelia Cross aside and yelled, "What the hell are you doing?" Amelia Cross grabbed my pants leg and asked, "Have you been in love with her all along?" I lowered my gaze and replied, "That's none of your business." But Amelia Cross, as if possessed, continued to grab and tear at Emma Lewis's dress relentlessly. I slapped Amelia Cross twice, and she finally stopped, covering her face. She looked at me in disbelief and asked, "You actually hit me? You hit me for her?" Emma Lewis, furious, immediately called security to throw Amelia Cross out at the end of the banquet. I publicly announced that Emma Lewis and I were going to be engaged. She hugged me tightly and said, "I've been waiting for you for so many years." Epilogue. After being fired, Amelia Cross went completely crazy, frequently showing up outside my company, throwing vegetable scraps and rotten eggs. She even used red paint to write on the exterior walls of my company. In the end, I couldn't stand it anymore and called the police. Afterward, Amelia Cross cried day and night at home. Michael Evans took her to see a doctor. She told everyone, "Michael Evans is a bad man. He abandoned me." Eventually, she was sent to a mental hospital by her family after being diagnosed with severe depression. I gave Emma Lewis the grandest proposal ceremony in Jiang. She really handed over everything to me. I asked her, "Don't you think this is a bit risky?" "What if?" She smiled and lay in my arms, saying, "That day will never come. I understand you." I gently stroked her head and said, "I will never let you down. From now on, I will love you every day." Looking at my parents happily smiling, I felt that everything I had done was worth it. With Emma Lewis's support, I was able to secure a chain of supermarkets I had always wanted to acquire. I cut through all obstacles and made the company grow stronger. My parents said I married a good wife. I'm also thankful that I stopped in time. With Emma Lewis, every day now has hope. I promised her that in 6 months, I would give her the grandest wedding. She kissed me and said, "I really appreciate how much you love me." I nodded and responded, "Having you is my honor."